Hello, is this Insert Game Being here with a new video. And in this video, I'm going to be going over the Grand Theft Auto Online Bottom Dollar Bounties coming June 25th for 2024, of course. And I suppose I can also call it Update Information number 2, whatever I usually end up calling these. But yes, I will be kind of doing a small little trailer analysis. Now, unfortunately, because of how my recording software works, I'm not really allowed to be full screen on here, so it'll just be how it is. Basically, I just use the game bar, like the Xbox game bar or whatever, and it's kind of restrictive like that, I guess. So I'll kind of just go by certain frames here, basically. Also not risking like copyright or whatever. But yeah. Apparently this vehicle over here is basically a police version of the Greenwood here, apparently here. Now you can kind of verify that pretty easily kind of nowadays, I feel, right now, because the current GTA Plus membership actually has the regular Greenwood in it right now. So if you are on the 9th generation version of the game, you can actually kind of already see what the regular one looks like over in that like paywall kind of interior kind of like thing where you can buy the cars, basically the car club, whatever. But yes, apparently this is a police version of the Greenwood, which has actually been sitting in the game files for quite a few years, apparently, as I will be going over with the second tab at some point as well. So that's definitely going to be pretty interesting there. Who knew Sweet's bucket ass core, whatever the hell, car, all fucking was going to be this significant in this game, being a Monitech vehicle first. And then now it's apparently going to be a police vehicle with maybe a Monitech on that too. That would be a pretty cool vehicle if it had a Monitech and was a police vehicle after all. And then the Burrito over here. Apparently this is a Declasse Burrito for the van here. Not sure there's much of any ever like day one, like 2013 kind of like van with the Declasse manufacturer here. But it's apparently some kind of like burrito, and you can actually be on like the sides of it, maybe shoot like LMGs, like assault rifles, whatever kind of usual crazy kind of stuff you can shoot on the sides of these kinds of vehicles. So that's definitely going to be pretty interesting. And yeah, there is another vehicle like over there. It kind of looks a little like DeLorean, kind of Deluxo looking. Not necessarily saying it's going to be like some like Deluxo, DeLorean kind of thing, but kind of has an interesting kind of look like that, which I do find pretty tight, honestly, and for sure. Pretty futuristic-esque looking. Not that there's not a lot of that in the game these days, whatever, but yeah. There's the sister Maude here, or not necessarily sister, I think it was more called daughter Maude. I think I will be going more in detail with that later. Whatever her name was, again, I'll just go over that later. It's like an interior look of like the business thing, whatever, the dollar bounties, all bottom dollar bounties. She'll probably be more involved than Maude herself, if it's anything like the previous Chop Shop DLC, where you mostly dealt with like Jamal instead of Yusuf Amir as an example for recent times. So she'll probably be one of the more involved characters of the update, quite frankly. Alright. And then this vehicle here pretty much isn't looking like it's going to be some kind of brand new police vehicle here as well. I don't really have too much more to say on that one. People apparently say that one's kind of looking like one from like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which is pretty interesting. I kind of do think I remember it looking kind of like one from that game for sure. And it seems there's a couple new drift vehicles which are actually not currently in the game right now. However, though, they are of previously released vehicles, which not really come off as too much of a surprise given that the Chop Shop DLC already. There was only really one like true new vehicle that even got the drift performing upgrades, whatever. The drift tuning that was actually new in the previous DLC, or the current one basically with the FR36, and then all the other ones were returning ones. So it should not come off as too surprising. There seems to be like what seems to be the Sentinel Classic. One of the two at least, I think. Not necessarily this one, but like there's one near the end that kind of looks somewhat similar looking. Though I believe there's also like a look on like the actual like trailer basically as well, like the little introductory image, which I will show later, is like whatever like the thumbnail basically. The Übermacht Cypher, another one of those like tuner 2021 like tuner DLC vehicles. Seems like it will be getting the drifting as well. The Cypher, yes, from Los Santos Tuners. And I actually may have heard, and I do pretty much remember the body style here as well. It seems the Nebula Turbo may actually be receiving a drift tuning upgrade as well. Which, wait, that was like a pretty old nostalgic vehicle from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Not sure if it was actually called Nebula Turbo back in those days, but pretty cool. And what is this here? Is this literally the Bravado Dorado from the current Chop Chop DLC, but as a police vehicle? So maybe that could somehow suggest that maybe the one earlier was like the Impaler, like LX or something. If they want to do like quite a couple from the previous or current Chop Chop DLC. So they might be pulling some from some pretty recent vehicles as well. And then Maude Eccles here, probably her first appearance of the trailer if I'm recalling right, but yeah, she was pretty much already mentioned. Bottom Dollar Bounties, she's literally the perfect character for this, since that's pretty much what she would do in the story mode with Trevor Phillips, of course. Never look at that burrito, whatever. Probably just a worthwhile Pipistrello, I'm guessing, on that one. That's already been talked about pretty well from Rockstar themselves. Alright, back a little more. There's some kind of new-ish, like, green vehicle here, it seems. There will be a better look of that later on, though. And I believe that's just that, like, DeLorean Deluxo kind of looking vehicle, I believe, from earlier, too. Perhaps you have to inspect some clue stuff and whatnot, which would actually be very reminiscent to the way the bounties work in Red Dead Online, which is pretty cool. So of course it would easily be able to take some inspiration from one of their other games, of course. Which is definitely pretty fun. And you should of course be able to bring them in alive, just like Red Dead Online. You could even pretty much do that in the single player already with the bounty systems of that game, basically, for those side missions. Nothing really new for helicopters here. I believe this one's just like a Super Vulito or Super Vulito Carbon. It has like the Buckingham B over there. And then the other one's probably like an unarmed buzzard, which a lot of the enemies pretty much just use in a lot of the missions already. I feel these kind of look new. I'm not really 100% on that. I feel I remember there's some kind of vehicle that like starts with a C or something from like the Cunning Stunts DLC. I forget what the vehicle was called, but I think it was one that returned from like Grand Theft Auto 4. It's kind of giving me like a vibe of that vehicle. I completely forget what the name of it pretty much is on top of my head, but kind of reminds me of that. I don't know why, but it kind of looks kind of like an off-roady, kind of like Granger or something as well, or something. I'm not entirely like wrong with that, maybe. Could be entirely wrong with that though, of course. And then yeah, this is probably just of course Mule Custom from the After Hours DLC. Just some more looks at like interior stuff and whatnot. Here is where you can actually see characters on the side. I do not believe that feature was actually shown off just yet, but I did of course allude to it pretty much. Looks like they're plating on the windows or something, so not sure if it's pretty much suggesting that this would be some kind of armored vehicle. I could see an armored burrito, whatever. Quite frankly, if it's not armored, then it's not going to be too much more different than the other burritos I feel, besides for, of course, the side hanging gimmick thing here. And again, that's probably just a Mule Custom, just the back of it this time. And yeah, the last of the like minor moments of the trailer here, and then it goes into like the last major scene here, basically. Which may just pretty much be showing a better look at this vehicle. The green one I pretty much mentioned earlier. Now, you might be able to see a little glimpse at like the vehicle manufacturer, but yeah, it's probably pretty hard to make it out. As far as I've heard, there's some pretty niche vehicle manufacturers that should be making some kind of return with one of these vehicles. I believe currently in the game that manufacturer actually only has one single vehicle in the game, and it's literally from like 2013. Just to give a hint, pretty much. Since it's not really the most visible, I don't really necessarily feel I want to mention it by name per se, in case that's not going to end up correct by the release of the DLC though. And is there some kind of like new like police vehicle in the back there, like some like van thing? That might not necessarily be the Dorado from earlier. Could be wrong. Either way, I think this green vehicle, to me, it's kind of looking a little futuristic-esque like the rest of them, so I'm not sure if like all of them are going to be electric. Apparently it's said the Pipistrel is probably going to be some kind of electric vehicle. I feel this one I could see. I'm not so sure about the DeLorean, like Deluxo kind of looking one. But again, is that police vehicle on the way back like some kind of new one? I feel it's not so easy to tell. Again, maybe if I was playing it, but yeah, I'm not going to risk doing that or anything for any of the craziness that goes on. And yeah, it's pretty much just all the same from there, pretty much. For the usual, like the end, showing like the name of the DLC, release date, all that, which is pretty much already been went over anyways. But yes, it is from June 18th, 2024, by the way, if I have not yet went over the release for the information drop here, basically. And then, yeah, all that headline stuff pretty much went over already. Alright. I don't really feel this first paragraph's too important after watching the trailer and all that from there. Maude's daughter here, yeah, kind of accidentally called her sister first, but his daughter, as I've corrected later on. Jenette. I really should have probably remembered that more, but there you go for that character. And really, there's nothing else from there on that one, I'd say. Stun gun thing there. And yeah, I do remember stuff to show off the like little thumbnail basically as well. Yes. Fun facts, by the way, apparently this vehicle, but the location for this at least seems pretty close to the police station, ironically, but it is supposed to be kind of like a vigilante-ish kind of like business, so honestly, I'm not really too surprised, I guess, myself personally, for sure. And then, yeah. They do, of course, flat out confirm new law enforcement vehicles. There was the Greenwood, it seemed pretty much. What looked like it could maybe be the Impaler LX, the muscle car that they released in the latest Hop Shop DLC. And it for sure looked like a Dorado as well. That definitely did look like the Dorado I could recall from the drip feed from the DLC. For the current latest DLC. And for more law enforcement vehicles that could possibly be expected, I will go over that on this GTA Wiki beta releases and Grand Theft Auto Online page actually here. Since there's apparently a good few police vehicles it could pull from that's already in the game files and before the true release of this DLC. So I think that would definitely be pretty fun to go over personally. And then you have the off the books dispatch work. I believe stuff with that was already mentioned in the previous one though. The stuff you did for stuff you will be doing for Vincent. Again, they only mentioned drift and drag races for the Rockstar creator. No mention at all of the known unknown and the unknown unknown races, which is quite unfortunate. I really do hope those appear in the creator as well, but at this rate, I'm not really feeling too confident. Which is going to suck, but whatever, if so. And then, in case for some reason you need that confirmation, it will be on the 8th generation platforms of the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One. And technically the PC, since they never did that promised upgrade basically for the 9th generation version onto the PC, since PCs can just upgrade obviously. Have to refresh this here, see if I can get the thumbnail thing showing again. Should be able to, right? Alright, yes, here it is, okay. This one actually does not look like the Sentinel Classic. So this could actually be that new vehicle for that one that was drifting in the first place. The first one that was like in the drifting scene. So maybe it's another like newish vehicle that's drifting. Because is it just me, or does this kind of look like a European license plate, just like the Pigali from like the I Am Not a Hipster DLC? Seems like a pretty unique looking-ish license plate on its own, not gonna lie. I don't really feel the Sentinel Classic in the game right now has that. But yeah. There is a closer look of the stun gun thing here with that livery thing that basically showed up in the previous thing. Probably just some existing revolver here. God, I really hope they do a new weapon. They've been very good and consistent with new weapons lately, which I have liked. Hopefully there's at least some kind of new weapon, even though they have not promoted it or anything. Did they necessarily promote the battle rifle though? Or was the first information from that through leaks though? I feel like the first information the battle rifle could have been through like leaks though, so there's still probably hope, of course, for some kind of whole new weapon. And given a good track record, I could see that very much being the case again. I don't really feel there's anything else too important to, of course, notice on this thumbnail basically. And last but not least, I did want to go over beta releases actually for Grand Theft Auto Online here. But if you go through the beta releases in GTA Online, there's actually a whole section for the Los Santos Summer Special, basically. And did you ever wonder why that DLC, how it was like super weird, how it was like a 2020 DLC that somehow had no drip feed in the DLC whatsoever? Apparently, according to the look at the bottom here, was going to initially be some Cops and Crooks game mode, returning from like Grand Theft Auto 4 as like the main focus, and this seems to be the huge police-focused DLC they were pretty much heavily hinting at with Chop Shop DLC. So this DLC could have actually been planned for quite the few years, which would explain the weirdness of such a current decade DLC having no drip feed. And besides for that, I just pretty much want to go over these police vehicles here, I think, to end off pretty much for this video here. But yeah, you have some that I feel would be more difficult to make out, like the Police 6, kind of the Police B2. I might explain some stuff of that, and then the Zoku, whatever this is. I don't necessarily feel this one would be a police vehicle, so it's not in the usual format. So the other ones, though. But yeah. The Police Greenwood, like I said, apparently this has already been the game files, and that was pretty much like the first police vehicle that actually appeared in the trailer. And again, the Greenwood is actually a plus vehicle, so they're pretty much hinting at the police already. So it's not necessarily an entirely random vehicle they chose for the plus subscription. B2 here, I feel could either be like a second version of the police bike, or like a new version of like the Police Buffalo. Apparently it's a pretty rare police vehicle, I believe, known as the like Police Buffalo in the game. Then this Pol Riata basically seems like a police version of the Riata, which the Riata is definitely a vehicle I recall being from like a previous Grand Theft Auto Online DLC. And then Pol and then Kara. Of course, I would assume this would be the 4x4, not the 6x6. Would be cool to have both of them as like police vehicles, I feel, but yeah. I would, of course, mostly expect the 4x4 one, since that would be the more civilian-ish kind of one. Police Car again, a vehicle that's previously featured in like the Southern San Andreas Super Sport Series update, whatever long ass name for that one, for the 6x6 with the gun, and then the 4x4 is in like the Casino Resort. Police Gringer, there's kind of already pretty much a Police Gringer. Again, I felt like it was kind of like off-roady kind of Gringer looking vehicle in the trailer, so I'm not sure if that's hinting at that one. But again, that did remind me of some kind of like vehicle from the Cunning Stunts that I think returns from Grand Theft Auto 4. Again, I kind of forget what the name was, but I believe it started with a C or something. And I think it's in the SUV class, whatever it is currently in the game. Pol Panto looks to be a police version of the Panto, which seems pretty awkward. Some like compact police vehicle, that seems pretty awkward to me. But that'd be a pretty fun, meme-worthy police vehicle. Pol Bati, I would assume would be another police motorcycle, like the police bike in the game right now, but more based on the Body 801 from like day one of the game. And you can see stuff like Police Transporter, Police T2, which could, of course, more so hint at like a new Police Buffalo, which I hinted at earlier, because yeah, could be like the initial for a full word, like I was pretty much hinting at already. Huh. But here they show Police Buffaloes. I'm not so sure anymore, but again, it could maybe just be like another version of the police bike, the one that's already in the game, not this Police Bati 801. That could be pretty likely if it's anything off of the song. And again, to make the point that there was ones in the latest Chop Shop DLC, and some of that could have maybe been in the game files already from this as well. So this could give some ideas of some of the stuff that kind of technically already exists in the game files that could very much be police vehicles for the upcoming DLC. But yes, I think that is pretty much going to be it for this video here. With the trailer analysis, the information that I went through, of course, on the newswire, the very little there technically was, and then some idea of what to expect for possible other police vehicles that actually are in the game files. So that's pretty much finally going to be it for this video here. Hope you enjoyed.